if the consequences of what they're seeing live streamed looks like a war there in Los Angeles, it's because it is. And the fires are not out of control. They are being controlled. And I can't underscore enough for everybody to please read the Illuminati Secret Covenant. You will understand how this has been drop by drop by drop, instituted over decades, as in like forever.
Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. Sean from SGT Report. That was Deborah Tavares, and ladies and gentlemen, she's 100% right. And even Mel Gibson is now saying so on Fox News. None of this is an accident. It's all being done by design to depopulate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a must-hear broadcast. Thanks for spreading it far and wide. Before we start, just a quick word about our sponsor. De-dollarization isn't stopping. It's accelerating. China and other BRICS nations are scared of President Trump, and it's making them more determined to reduce their dependence on the US dollar and establish themselves as global economic superpowers. Their secret weapon? Gold. In fact, China resumed buying gold, and now they hold more than anyone imagined. They underreport their buys. Doesn't it make you wonder why? China recognizes gold's global value and ability to withstand economic shocks. Gold is a global asset with innate value. It's tangible, reliable, and immune to economic manipulation. China and other BRICS countries want to be prepared. But this isn't just about nations, it's about you. In a world of shifting economic power, gold is your personal hedge against uncertainty. Noble Gold Investments can help you secure your financial future with gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today to learn more. And with a qualified account, receive 10 1-ounce silver American Eagle coins. Now, there are no investment guarantees in any investment, but gold is the real deal. So visit noblegoldinvestments.com today. The link is below. Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sean from SGT Report with an emergency broadcast with my friend Deb Tavares. She was born in Santa Monica. She lived in Malibu. She suffered through fires and relocations and evacuations pretty much her entire life in California, and she knows Pacific Palisades like the back of her hand. Friends, these are not wildfires. These are engineered fires to remove the people from their land. And by the way, when you talk about the shit show that is California governance, I want to play this clip from a young man talking about his home being under siege by the fire and Oregon sending in firefighters and fire trucks to help. And guess what happened in the city of San Francisco?
Oregon sent 60 fire trucks, only for them to get stopped in San Francisco for guess what? Emissions testing, which they're probably not going to pass. The whole state's on fire, and they're finding a reason to not allow 60 more fire trucks to come help us out. That sounds like they want us to burn. I am in shock.
You know, I think the entire state of California ought to be in shock. What I'm showing right here, too, is delusional D's who will never wake up for 1,000, Alex. Heart breaks, this person writes, for this Palisades neighborhood. F Trump. That from Morgan J. Freeman, not the actor, but a man who happens to be a TV producer in the state of California. Ladies and gentlemen, what will it take for people to wake up? And what you're looking at on my screen right now is what appears to be satellite imagery showing 3 wildfires breaking out at pretty much the exact same time. And what you'll see right next to that is Smart LA 28. Well, they're already trying to tamp down the disinformation, folks. This from PolitiFact. No, California wildfires weren't deliberately set to build smart cities for UN's 2030 agenda. Oh yeah? More on that with Deb Tavares. Deb, how are you holding up?
Well, Sean, thank you so much for having me on the show today. And I want to promote my websites because I have much information that's going to be covered as I go through the reality of what we're facing. So I do operate and run stopthecrime.net. Also, primarywater.org, and that's going to be an important topic with the elimination and access to water during all these fires, all, ALL. And I also run toxicsky.org. I urge everyone to listen to Unconventional Gray, Grey, on toxicsky.org. The film producer was Michael Murphy, now deceased. Unconventional Gray, ToxicSky.org, PrimaryWater.org, and StopTheCrime.net. So what I want to say as far as how I'm holding up, I think with every fire, there's triggering and re-traumatization. And it is with that understanding that I am watching the enormous loss, shock, trauma, disbelief, and certainly the inability for people to right now down there, as they're being burned out intentionally, to comprehend what's happening, because it is immense trauma. And for that, I think we have to recognize that these people will struggle beyond their understanding of what struggle means going forward. So I want to address this because again, this is a criminal crime investigation, and it is still being committed down there now. The fires are not out. So let me just tell you a few things about my background so you'll understand how I feel and what I've been through with fires quickly. And then we're going to jump into the agenda that does, in fact, promote destruction of the United States and all countries worldwide with all types of weaponized weather events. And it was a long time before I was able to understand this was an agenda. Again, as Sean said, I grew up in Santa Monica. The Pacific Palisades was where I went shopping often. And then I lived in Malibu, in Big Rock, which was one area just beyond Topanga Canyon. And I lived at the top of the hill with my parents. And I was 11 years old when the Bel Air fire, certainly whipped by Santa Ana winds, blew through our area, and I had to evacuate at 11. Now, my trauma was I saw the flames cresting the ridge. I ran home and told my parents. They didn't believe me. They told me, oh, don't worry, it won't come here. Well, I'm hearing a lot of that right now with people in shock in the Palisades and other areas right now. My parents did the same thing to me.
Deb, you know what's funny? Let me just jump in and say, I think that cost many lives in this case. I'm talking about normalcy bias, cognitive dissonance, because I've seen the videos of people shooting basically fire nados out of the back of their home. They got surrounded by these fires in short order, and I'm wondering how many of those people lost their lives. In addition,
Day of the fire on October 8th of 2017, for retrofitting purposes, our hydrants were dry too. And the reason that we're watching the inability to pump water during these fires is these are electromagnetic fires. These are not fires. These are microwaves and lasers. You don't put that out easily with water, just like a Tesla battery. When it explodes, it explodes. This is the type of fires that are really occurring. And when I hear people talk about arson, it is arson. Our government is utilizing patents and weapons to destroy us. And let's talk about that for a moment here. We know that there's a patent that this is all political scripts. This is all theater. There's a bigger agenda at play, and it is absolutely perfecting the slavery of all of us. So let's get into this, because I've lived through it here. In 2017, we were not able to fully understand the intentionality. But when we did not have water to fight the fires because they had emptied the water tanks that were filled for fire water purposing at the top of Fountain Grove. That was a very high-end, expensive community. And those tanks were emptied the day of the fire on October 8th of 2017 for retrofitting purposes. Our hydrants were dry too. And the reason that we're watching the inability to pump water during these fires is these are electromagnetic fires. These are not fires. These are microwaves and lasers. You don't put that out easily with water, just like a Tesla battery. When it explodes, it explodes. This is the type of fires that are really occurring. And when I hear people talk about arson, it is arson. Our government is utilizing patents and weapons to destroy us. And let's talk about that for a moment here. We know that there's a patent of, and it's entitled, the abstract and the classification is about directed energy weapons. They're devices that direct a beam of high frequency content towards a target for incapacitating and destroying the target. The high energy beams being a laser beam causing structural damage to the targets. This is patent number US 10337-841 B as in boy 2, United States. And this patent expires March 13th of 2036. March 13th of 2036. Now let's talk about what has happened with the wind, because I know you asked me one time, Sean, how in the heck do they do the wind? Well, let's talk about patent number, U.S. patent number 7629918. Understand, they create microbursts to create winds, and it's an electromagnetic radio weapon, and it causes winds. Artificially spawned, precision-targeted microburst vortex created by a scalar electromagnetic weapon system mounted on cell towers everywhere. Now, you just heard me. It's important to understand. Our society is built upon weapons programs. Let's think about that. Years back, we were able to get the opt-out here in California for the deployment of the wireless electric smart meters. All of you listening, the smart meters are also involved in pulsing and creating internal fires in the homes. Many people might notice the homes are on fire on the inside because they can pulse and explode your appliances. Back in the early, I would say, 2008 period of time, you could easily search and find the evidence of pulsed microwaves used for exploding appliances from the smart meters. In fact, there was an area in Canada that would not allow the smart meters to be deployed because they did start fires. There were many homes actually that caught fire, but it was interesting to note that it was never blamed on the smart meter, even if the fire started right where the smart meters were. That was also a cover-up. And so all of you listening, I will tell you, the fires here in 2017, we noted that there were many homes in the Santa Rosa area that did not burn because they did not have smart meters, and their neighbors burned to the ground. So here we have a weapons program. There's the weapons being used on all of us. And it's important to know that when we hear people talking about a variety of things, the shortage of firefighters, that's intentional.
Yeah.
That's intentional. Firefighters were telling us after the 2017 fire here, they had never fought fires that were so hot and moved so rapidly. Never. So everyone listening right now, you need to ask the next question. What kind of fires were they fighting? We have since learned in the reconstruction of Fountain Grove, again, that beautiful high-end community that burned to the ground. My brother lost his home there. Cousins, I have friends that lost their homes. And when they rebuild, some of them have not. But those that did, they were relocating large boulders, like, half the size of a car. And they just shattered when they tried to relocate them because they were hit by microwaves. Now, I am not seeing the level of dustification so far with what I've seen in the Palisades or other areas of the out-of-control criminal crime being activated right now in Los Angeles. I'm not seeing the dustification because they polish up their equipment with every crime that is committed. But let's talk about that because the shortage of firefighters is intentional here. What we found is that all of our original fire companies were consolidated by CAL FIRE. I, a number of years ago, found a map. CAL FIRE showed all the areas that were going to be burned. I called it the Burn 'em Up map. And I did many radio shows about that. CAL FIRE supports sustainable development. All of these agencies support sustainable development death agendas. All of your cities, your counties, our states, our country, all the agencies have adopted plans to kill us, because that is what sustainable development boils down to.
Deb, let me just jump in for 1 second. And I want to play for you in the audience a 52-second clip from Joe Rogan. And this is something that he said on his podcast in July 19th, 2024. I want everybody to consider the fallacy of what's being stated here.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
No.
Rockefeller, Rothschild, PG&E, the United Nations, they all have willing accomplices in Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass by not clearing the brush, by not doing fire abatement, by draining all of the water runoff into the Pacific, by not allowing water to be in the fire hydrants. These are accomplices to genocide and property destruction. And in my opinion, Gavin Newsom should not only resign in disgrace, he should be tried for his crimes. Deb Tavares.
Okay. So we have to understand that these are weapon systems that are being used. This is war. People are saying it looks like a war zone down there. It looked like a war zone here in 2017 with the Tubbs fire. It looked like a annihilation in paradise. And I will only tell you, if it looks like war, it is because it is. Let's get this right. And when the media tells us these fires are out of control, they're not out of control. They're being controlled. People have to wrap their heads around the reality that our government is participating in annihilation of humanity. And this is all being run by predetermined programs. We have to understand that. And here's what we are told. And here's what's happened to us. Because the climate action plans that have already been all adopted, the sustainable development plans that promote agendas using Rand Corporation Delphi meeting techniques to create a consensus to determine outcomes, which is what's been happening. Every meeting that every single one of you have ever engaged in has been controlled. They hire consultants that come in and lead you into the belief that your concerns are being addressed. They're not. The Delphi meetings are structured, they're controlled, they're facilitated communication techniques used in meetings today to manipulate all of us to reach the predetermined outcomes for the desired goals of the corporations who are behind all of these meetings. And the Delphi meeting system was used at the Climate Action Plan meetings to create an illusion of public agreement and consensus. To determine consensus, that word is disgusting, of science rather than real fact-based science. In fact, the climate action plans are based upon false consensus science because many thousands of scientists tell us that they could reduce our CO2 emissions by 100%, and that would not affect
All right, everyone, welcome.
Now, we have been lied to, and we have been duped, and we have been programmed. People are going along with plans of extinction. There is no mistake about that. And again, I say, we didn't have water here in our hydrant. Paradise didn't. Lahaina didn't. Okay? That is because these are microwave weapon systems. And these microwave weapon systems are calibrated to literally burn out what the calibrations direct them to. The seeming illusion that the trees are still standing, which they are in many instances, it's important to understand the trees are burning from the inside out. They're not trees that are surviving, they've already been absolutely minimized because of the many years of chemtrailing and all the aluminum, strontium, and barium, all the bushes, all the trees, but they are not calibrated for the burns. That is the reason. The calibration is through the laser, and this is how they do it. And this is important, Sean, for everybody to realize. We are on our own. Fire prevention and fire opportunities to harden up our homes is up to us. We can see that. And so it's important to be able to understand, and I sent this out as an email blast. It's on stopthecrime.net under email blast tabs, and I entitled it Watchers. Now, what we've done here in Sonoma County with only a few people since the fires here, when we see that we're heavily chemtrailed, when we see that the humidity is dropped below 50%, when we see that we have strengthening winds and it is extremely dry, we know they're setting up for a burn. Now, everybody down there in Santa Monica, the Palisades, Malibu, you have the opportunity to become more self-aware and look around and help one another see. Because I will tell you, the average humidity down there on the 8th, that would be January the 8th, was about 12%, the lowest we had ever seen it in a fire zone. And also, the smoke is used as an additional weapon. And make no mistake, people here were contracting lung diseases. People here were getting cancers. They are spraying us with fire retardant. That's a forever chemical. They're adding to the poison of everything with what they're doing to us.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. Our animals are dying. Our dogs have trouble breathing. Their lungs. We're noticing that with all of our animals. So right now, everybody, please do not let your dogs run around outside smelling the ground when you're in a fire zone, because they're breathing up all the particulates. Take them out on a leash and let them do their business. Bring them back inside. That applies to you too. And stop lying to your children. You are lying to your children by not allowing them to understand the reality that they live in. They are not prepared to live in a world that is set against them.
But you know what, Deb? I don't think the normies, the NPCs, the people who voted for all of this, the people who continue to blame Trump or anybody else for these fires, aside from Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and the demon rats that run California, these people are never going to wake up. Just like those children, they're hopelessly deceived. And I don't think the normies, the NPCs, are ready at all for this piece of video that I've had playing on my screen now as you've been talking about maybe what's coming from Area 51. You mentioned it on the pre-call, and I didn't know that you'd want to go there because this is an area of deep woo, in my opinion. What do you make of the video of an anomaly that appears to be produced from Area 51 and settles right directly over Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades, Malibu?
It's just the process of directed energy weapons. We are in a fifth-generation warfare. Make no mistake about it. The illusion that we need soldiers and guns and tanks, that's over. This is a microwave warfare. We have to understand that. And it's all calibrated. It's all directed. They use satellites. They use the cell towers. This is all microwave fires. Again, one reason they do not show that the water is available is because they can't put these fires out. And it's again, the trees are all dead and dying. When we went and did fire investigations, we had black helicopters flying over. I went on many fire investigations with my husband, several retired fire captains up here that knew, in fact, that these were intentional electromagnetic fires. And with Jamie Lee, a good friend of ours who did, and this is Jamie Lee that ran the website A Plain Truth. He did the most amount of coverage by videos of the fires out of Paradise of anyone in the world. And they killed him on March 15th of 2024. And I'm looking at his book right now, Paradise Lost, The Great California Fire Chronicles. Now, I want you all to know, they're not only burning up California, they're burning up countries and villages and towns all over the world. If they're not burning, they're flooding. They're causing landslides. This is a full frontal attack on all of humanity. And California is not alone. California is not alone. In fact, we have to remember, I did a video in 2015 in front of the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors here. I had an inch thick of evidence that I discovered through fire captains on the plan to burn up Northern California. Now that got millions of views. Millions of views. I had the documentation. I understood what they were doing. And all I can tell you is this is all intentional. And Lahaina, Hurricane Helene, this is a worldwide attack on all of us. And there have been countless fires. We're building up from the experience of all of our knowledge on what we've been through. And we must come together and share that knowledge to create the reality. We can't keep starting at ground zero and talking about fires with people that don't understand the level and don't know about the patents and haven't lived through it also. And when you live through it, you understand this is all of the above, a massive land grab. Let's talk about that.
Well, definitely let's talk about that in the time we have left. I wish you could see my screen right now, Deb. What I'm showing looks so apocalyptic, it looks like Dresden at the end of World War II. I'll tell you what, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, these videos are worth 10 million words. What I'm showing on the screen right now are palm trees that appear to be on fire from within. The source of the energy for the fire is coming from within the palm trees, and of course, the wind, 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds. This is World War III, folks. If bombs were dropped on us by China or Russia, I doubt the aftermath would be this intense.
Okay, let's go into the map I sent you, please. This is extremely important. This is the Wildlands Project map that was brought to us by Dr. Michael Kaufman in the 90s. And I reversed the color of it. I forwarded it to you, Sean. It shows where human access will be denied, where corridors will be cleared out for migration of animals. This is mandated by the United Nations Biodiversity Treaty. And forced transformation and relocation of all Americans and cities to comply with environmental policies and reduction of CO2 emissions. We actually believe and have gone along with allowing our schools to educate our children that we must reduce CO2. That is called oxygen. We are being told we have to clear plants from around our homes to stop the burns that they create. We're reducing oxygen, and that also allows the microwave frequencies to enter into our homes much more rapidly so they can constantly bathe us in long-range acoustic weapons and LRAD. And just as in Havana, Cuba, they are now just reporting on the radio that they're seeing many, many more people that have been attacked by frequencies. Now, I released a video about a year ago or so called Evacuation Zones Are Actually Military Zones. And I would ask for all of you to look at that. Maybe you can find that on my website. But I want to go over this. This is very important. This is all predetermined. This is all staged in advance. And we were told, now I've covered documents over the years, many documents, specifically Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, and also the NASA War document that my friend and I found and put out there, and it gained traction all over the world, okay? The NASA War document, the future is now. Well, now we have to look at another document very, very closely because it's predictive of what we're in. And it's the Illuminati Secret Covenant.
You know what, Deb, you're right over the target as usual. By the way, breaking news, Brentwood is now on fire. Homes in Brentwood are burning down as we speak. These fires are not getting better. The fires are getting worse. Sorry, Deb, go ahead.
Well, that's absolutely true. They're going to go for max because they're creating the illusion that they have homeless people torching. You have to understand this is all mind-controlled people that are sleeper cells, by and large. And the reason that they've now transitioned from admitting that, or from even saying that these are power lines, the utilities started these fires, is because of the lawsuits, litigation, and blame on the utilities, which are all owned by Rothschild. Thank you very much. Worldwide, the utilities are all owned by Rothschild, LLC, and Company. And again, as I said, they're using the smart meters to pulse. So for all the burned down homes, you have to wonder how many had smart meters. But aside from that, it was apocalyptic winds. Again, I read you the patent on how they create winds. This is arson from the top up. And we have to understand how this all happened, drop by drop. This is an illusion. It's so huge that people can't believe anything like this is possible. And I'm going to go over a few of the sentences in the Secret Covenant by the Illuminati, because I think this nails it completely. They say the poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds us, in what we drink, eat, breathe, and wear. So they're dumping fire retardants to put the fires out, okay? The smoke is being used as a weapon. We're breathing in poisons that will shorten lives dramatically. They say that this is ingenious in dispersing the poisons, and that we can't see it. We can see it. And please teach your children the truth. Get them out of school that is teaching them about climate change, that we're the problem, we're the fault. It's not. All you have to do is look all of this up. They use their products in film to grow, so we grow accustomed to these things, and we will never know the true effect of all of these poisons. We are so deceived. They bathe our blood and kill us. They drink our blood. They guide us kindly and gently, letting us think they are guiding us in a good way.
Yeah, like cattle through a corral. They guide us gently through their corrals like cattle. By the way, breaking news. I just want to play this. Give me 1 minute, Deb, because hopefully the people of California will wake up slowly and one by one and quickly return to their senses, because what's happening here is not sustainable. In fact, as I stated earlier in the broadcast, the powers that ought not be in California just burned down their tax base. This is unrecoverable, folks. And now we have major radio stations in LA publicly calling for Mayor Karen Bass to be removed. Listen to this, folks.
Urgently call for the immediate recall of Mayor Karen Bass due to her gross mismanagement and failure to effectively respond to the devastating 2020 fires. In the wake of these catastrophic fires, our city has been left in crisis. Water supplies have been severely strained. Billions of taxpayer dollars have been misallocated or left unaccounted for, and countless lives have been lost. Families have been displaced, homes destroyed, livelihoods shattered, yet Mayor Bass has been absent from the front lines, choosing to travel abroad while her constituents suffer.
And she's back now, but guess what, folks? A leaked memo reveals that that DEI hire Karen Bass demanded her fire department cut an extra $49 million from the budget just 1 week before the wildfires broke out. I bring it all up, Deb, simply because these people are accomplices with the UN Agenda 2030 policies and Rothschild.
Well, I want to say this. We're told by the Illuminati Secret Covenant that they will establish our government and establish opposites within, and they will own both sides, okay? Really let that sink in. Everyone that's listening, we are on our own. Even our court system is corrupt. All of it is corrupt. Attorneys have bar cards, British Accreditation Regency. They are they're initiating sustainable development laws. In other words, if companies are not actively reducing greenhouse gas emissions, they won't get business. They won't get bank loans. Attorneys are behind this. I have documents where this all is revealed. But I want to go over this very quickly because this is extreme.
The Department of Water.
Again, this is the Climate Action Plan, and these are the health effects from the Climate Action Plans. And there's two categories. One is the climate change effect, and then examples of human health risks. So they talk about how they will increase extreme heat events. They've been doing that. Last summer, it was so hot here, we were experiencing microwave heat, much hotter than our thermometers were showing, our temperatures. It was hotter outside. There is a cover-up for microwaving us during heat events. And what they say this will cause is heat-related illnesses and death and worsening of chronic health conditions. They talk about increased air pollution, which they're creating and causing as well. And the benefits of that will increase respiratory illnesses and seasonal allergies. And then they talk about the floods, the drought, the wildfires, the storms, and the changes in weather patterns, which they control it all. It will cause injury, death, respiratory illnesses, waterborne illnesses, foodborne illnesses, displacement, rest-related mental disorders, mental impacts, certainly increasing the shift in infectious diseases and higher food prices and food scarcity, all being created. And we're allowing it because they've all initiated these climate action plans. They've all brought this in. And the higher food prices, of course, are going to increase hunger and death and minimize nutritional value. They talk about sea level rise, injury, and death. I did a video on coastlines under attack. Now, I lived on a boat, and I was in the Bay of Biscay. And when we had those charts, and we were not, everything we did, my dad did buy a sextant, and we didn't have any equipment at all other than just navigating with a sextant on our map. On the map of the Bay of Biscay, underneath the Bay of Biscay, it said the graveyard of ships. At the time, I did not know what we had experienced, but there was a Navy Loran base within the Bay of Biscay. And when we left a harbor that we had been held up in because of constant squalls and bad weather, we finally went out one day. We weren't even 2 miles off the coast when suddenly, out of nowhere, this is like what you see in the Truman Show. The wind whipped up. The rain was so heavy it hurt our skin when it hit us. And the waves suddenly increased. Our boat was swamped. It tore our sails. We couldn't flip on our auxiliary motor. We were a two-masted sailboat, and we were thrown around. And the first time ever, my father told us to put our life vests on. When we were finally able to get back into the cove, this Loran base car honked the horn. I didn't know that they were practicing controlling rogue waves and squalls in the Bay of Biscay during World War II. So they control it all. They control the seas. What do you think happened here in Northern California when 2 boats got swamped about a month ago and people died during these king tides? And we're also known for sneaker waves.
Sorry for this quick interruption, and a quick word about a sponsor. Finding an honest doctor that's not following in the footsteps of big pharma can be pretty tricky. That's why millions of men and women have turned to one Texas doctor, and the 7 reasons he says anyone over the age of 50 should be drinking this. It's not milk or any other calcium-rich drink. Instead, it's a unique protein that naturally declines with age and is proven to significantly increase bone strength and soothe joint pain. It minimizes wrinkles and cellulite, enhances hair follicle thickness, and even reverses nail damage, with users reporting results in as little as 2 weeks. As a partner of the show, this Texas doc is offering SGT Report listeners up to 45% off his bone, joint, and ligament restoring formula at getnativepathcollagen.com/SGT. It has thousands of 5-star reviews and over 4 million jars sold. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk to trying it today. SGT Report listeners can visit getnativepathcollagen.com/SGT to get up to 45% off while supplies last. The link is below.
People died during these king tides, and we're also known for sneaker waves.
Well, and let me just say, for those who think that geoengineering and weather weapons don't exist, just Google Operation Popeye in the Vietnam War, guys. By the way, you talk about sleeper cells. Well, guess who's telling a little bit of truth on Fox News? And God bless him for doing it, because he lost his mansion in Pacific Palisades. Mel Gibson. Listen to this, guys.
I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, oh, is it on purpose? Which, it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be? I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Sean, I need to talk about some additional technology that the folks need to hear right now, because what we need to understand is how our infrastructure is being decimated. Because on our criminal crime scene investigations, we saw that all metal. We're talking about the guardrails along roads that were metal, that were lagged on by bolts onto wood posts, very typical on how they set up guardrails. The guardrails were all fallen to the ground, and because the posts had burned up. Why? Because the microwaves heat the metal up and the wood burns. And we have noticed this time and time again. Now, I'm going to say something horrific, but it needs to be said. The microwaves can burn the nails in your homes. They can burn the hold downs, the straps. They can burn the components of metal that hold your house together. Understand this. We have countless videos, countless accounts where fence rails were literally burned because the nails were attached through the fence post. This is what they're doing. We are being microwaved. And again, that can be calibrated on the level of the amount of volume that they want at each individual attack site. Now listen to this, everybody carefully. And Sean, please add this to the visual in this program. We need to understand what is happening by the thousands in this country and worldwide right now. And it's called sun surveillance, S-U-N surveillance. These are being deployed by the thousands. There happens to be a lawsuit. I believe it's out of Newark right now. Because what is this sun surveillance? It is an iris scanning, license plate reading, all captured by AI, sent into your police, fire, and sheriff. They capture the ability, they have blue lights, which can cause remote heart attacks and strokes. They are put in place for our safety. Look it up. Look at all the things it can do. It can host drones. Think of Slaughterbox. Okay, we have been droned here by Pacific Gas and Electric. Pacific Gas and Electric has been flying over our community with drones. They've been identifying roofs that have mold on them because they're causing increased mold because of the weather manipulation. And they're telling the insurance companies, of which they commiserate with and are the insurance companies, not to renew coverage until the people replace their roofs. How can people, I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars for roof replacement, or they won't renew their insurance policy. It's another game to not renew insurance policies. They're certainly increasing people's cost to own their homes and shutting off insurance. We've had that happen here. They've certainly canceled and non-renewals for insurance right and left here, as they're doing. This is the way in which people that have mortgages, their only option is for the California Safe Plan. They have California-like safe plans all over the country. These are not California plans. The coverage is minimal, very minimal, and you have to have it. For example, a $2,500 policy for an annual premium for fire on your homes in the past is now over $10,000 and more, dependent on where you are in the WUI, the wildland-urban interface.
Well, and Deb, and a lot of people lost their fire insurance just a week or two prior to this fire.
I understand that. That had to be done in order to get the system rigged to collapse the home ownership.
100%.
This was another visual, another opportunity for people to understand they were going to be attacked. If they had looked at the barometer, the humidity, the chemtrailing, remember the low fog, we were being absolutely refreshed with accelerants during all of that. And then they started the fires. It's up to us. We have to become the watchers. We have to get auxiliary topside water tanks on our properties. We have to get pumps to pump the water out to defend our homes. We have to put sprinklers on our roofs. Our government is not going to help us. There's not enough firefighting equipment nor firefighters. The firefighters are dying from PFAS. They're dying from being sprayed with the dumps. In fact, what we discovered here during the Redding fire here in Northern California at a large meeting I attended after that fire is they couldn't fly in and do water drops or chemical dumps over Redding because of all the drones. Now, you heard about the drone that hit one of those firefighting planes down there, and it took it out of commission. The drones supersede the ability for our services to get in there and help us. Why? Why are they untouchable? That happened here in Redding. Again, this is a weaponized weather warfare. We are in a fifth-generation warfare operation. These are all criminal enterprises. We have to understand that. And only until we take personal initiative to protect one another, we are going to be murdered. We have to harden up to be less easy to be killed in a system that is set to kill millions. Millions. Look at the Deagle report.
Right.
And listen to this. This is important, but I want everybody to certainly download and read the Illuminati Secret Covenant. You will be chilled to the bone, and you should be. This is going to arm you to understanding, drop by drop, how this has all happened to us. But it says the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor, for that matter, even in Germany. That is understood. But the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked, and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same way in all countries. And this is a quote, certainly. And we need to understand the conspiracy and how the world is ruled, and how AI and computers are running this show that we're in. I can't overemphasize the fact that this is a slave state operation. No question about it. And the arsonists are our own governments, and they're destroying us because the system is built upon weapons. Everyone's using cell phones now. Cell phones, we know, are weapons. Everyone's got Wi-Fi and wireless in their homes. All of this is adding to the combustibility.
That's right.
Think about it.
You're 100% right. And let me just say what people are watching on my screen right now. As we wrap up the conversation, I want to talk about solutions, because I think there is a solution to all of this, and it's called reaching the tipping point of human consciousness and awareness to the problem that war is being waged against us. I want to play this 1-minute clip from Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary talking about how California is a dumpster fire, and Gavin Newsom is the Justin Trudeau of California.
California is a dumpster fire, and sadly, it is a dumpster fire. It's tragic what happened here. Gross mismanagement. We started talking about this with San Francisco, which is a war zone. And now LA, before this, was riddled with crime, people walking in and out of the stores, just stealing stuff. You've documented that forever. It is time for change. Gavin Newsom is a terrible manager. He is the Justin Trudeau of California. He's horrific. And obviously, people should want to make a change and hire somebody else. But I think it goes the other way. I think they're so tired of the rhetoric and the policy and the taxes and the mismanagement. You know, just watching that woman talk about, it's all over the internet now, where is the water pressure in my fire hydrant, to Gavin Newsom. He says, it's a local thing. You can't say that when you're a politician. You have to own the problem. He doesn't even understand that. Time for him to get removed from office immediately.
You know, what Kevin O'Leary said about Gavin Newsom being a bad manager is incorrect. He's a very good manager for the New World Order, for the United Nations, and for Rothschild. He's doing exactly what they wanted him to do. Should he be thrown out of office? Yes. I think he should be tried for his crimes and, if found guilty, hanged from the neck until dead. But he's not a bad manager. He's an excellent manager for the powers that ought not be, Deb Tavares.
Absolutely. He is an excellent manager because he's being controlled from above, and he is showing the criminal crime scenes and confirming that the damage was accomplished. That's what this walkabout is all about. But let's talk about water, because it's important for everyone to understand. I've been talking about this for years. We have primary water. we're not running out of water. Water is a renewable. What we're running out of and already have run out of are truth and facts, and how this system that we're all living in is being really run. And we certainly know that water is, you can get to water by drilling wells. Right now they've shut off. We have a moratorium for new building in the WUI in rural areas right now here in Sonoma County. And here's how they brought it in. Very interesting. They didn't announce that there's a moratorium on building in the ranch and in open areas outside the city growth boundaries, which is where they don't want us out. They don't want us to live outside the city growth boundaries. They want us in kill zones, in congested. They call them smart cities. These are kill cities. Kill cities. So what they did was they halted all issuing of new well drilling permits here in Sonoma County. And until Sonoma County can get an environmental impact study that pleases the control of the water here in the state through the California Water Board, that shows that well drilling is not depriving a neighbor of water, and that they're not diminishing the groundwater supply that should be a shared resource. They'll never get that, because I'll tell you why. This is how they're going to shut off construction. And we have to understand that they're bringing it in many ways. In Marin County, they're not issuing any more septic permits. And I would also urge everyone to understand the control that they have over the water that is used in the Palisades through the dams. The dams are municipal cauldrons of poison. Poison. Santa Monica, by the way, is fluoridated. So is Pasadena and all those areas. In fact, they dropped our insurance on plumbing leaks because of the corrosion that the fluoride does to our pipes. So we have to understand this is a big, big picture. We have to look at the health symptoms. People can't think, Sean. People are too sick. They're suffering from military weaponization of the atmosphere, military weaponization and the use of frequencies on all of us, and what our phones are doing us that we hold in our hands. This is adding to the confusion that we see, our short-term memory loss. Hello, memory loss. Our inability to focus. We're seeing that everywhere.
Well, let's break through for the normies right now. I want everybody to realize that whether you had 20, 40, $100 million, whether you lived in a $5 or $50 million mansion in Pacific Palisades in Malibu, it didn't matter. Paris Hilton lost her home. Mel Gibson lost his home. James Woods lost his home. Everybody's losing everything, and it doesn't matter, Normie, how much money you have. The people in control of this planet have trillions upon trillions upon trillions, and they own and operate the military-industrial complex. They own and operate the intelligence agencies. They own and operate the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. Deb Tavares, everybody needs to wake up right now, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. These people have infinitely more.
What I would say is, let's rename the normies as mind-controlled slaves. They're not able to break out of their predetermined thinking that has been woven for decades and decades and decades. They're not able to think. They're chemically lobotomized by and large, and they're soon to have the opportunity to off themselves through the genocidal euthanasia programs that are being deployed and now offered everywhere. We are being murdered, and in the process, we're being brought down on our knees by all of the frequencies and the overhead aerosolized death dumps. They're able to attack us, cause heart attacks, stop pacemakers from working. Everyone is having circulation problems, again, heart attacks. We're being transitioned not only physically and not only off our lands. They're creating a new human with mRNA, all synthetic biology. We're being replaced. That is it. We are being replaced. And for those of us that still want to be human, we're going to have to, we're on our own. We have to recognize we're on our own. And for people that vote and think that's the solution, then you're under mind control. Plain and simple. You're under mind control, because I cannot tell you the countless meetings I've attended that have all been under the Delphi technique, where they're all operated, the outcomes are all predicted, and you think you're weighing in. You are not. We were told this so long ago through the Rand Corporation and through Tavistock out of England. It is all controlled. In fact, I even found in one of the city agendas that they had to offer public comment, even when they don't want to. They despise us at the microphone because we're adding time to their sitting there in their seats when they've already approved all the agendas that are set in place to destroy, kill, and manipulate and cause damage and injury. They don't need us there. In fact, I've been to many meetings at the Pacific Gas and Electric and One Bay Area meetings where there might be 25 people to weigh in on the conversation, and they'll drop us down to 1 minute. They won't even give us 3 minutes. If you go a sentence or a few words over your allotted time, they're threatening to arrest you, and the police are standing right there to haul you off. This is how we're being run. Make no mistake. It is the Illuminati secret codes, and we're all pre-programmed, and this is what it is. These are arsonists, legalized arsonists that hide behind creating a narrative out of the damage, destruction of what they've done.
Yep.
And it is not about voting at all. Not at all.
Well, how do we fix it then? Let's talk about solutions, because what I'm showing on screen right now is the before and after of Altadena, California, Pacific Coast Highway, East Altadena Drive, Pacific Palisades, and General Los Angeles. It looks like AI. It doesn't look like this could possibly be true. This is actually the reality we're living through, though. They've destroyed everything, and along with it, hundreds of billions of dollars in property tax and tax revenue. These areas will never fully recover, folks. They will never go back to what they were. Many of these homes were built with techniques that no longer exist. They don't build them like that anymore. So literally, even if people got the insurance money and could rebuild, these places will never be as beautiful as they were. Now, that's not to say people can't rebuild, but keep your eye on that story, because the powers that ought not be, they don't want people to rebuild. How do we solve this problem? Deb Tavares.
Yes, thank you for asking that, because we have been offering solutions. We're on our own. So what does that look like when you know that they're going to attempt to burn you out? Well, or to use tornadoes or hurricanes or earthquakes. You have to harden up the best you can. And people will ask all the time, well, where can I move? There's nowhere to move. You can't move to any other state. In fact, the states that say they're banning geoengineering or they're banning the shots, that's only to get people to herd to those states so that they can get like minds killed off at one time. That is what's happening. It's massive mind control of climate change victims that are running all around thinking they're going to be safe somewhere. We have to hold our ground, and we have to stay with our families in fire-prone areas. You certainly do need extra water. You need the foliage around your house, because the foliage is what deflects and reduces some of the microwave frequencies coming off the cell towers and some of the other components that they attach to vehicles for long-range acoustic weapons. We need the foliage. Again, microwaves go to water. What is our percentage of water? 70%. We're being murdered by frequencies. They're destroying all metal, heating it up, burning the wood that it's attached to. How many of you have metal in your homes? Look at some of the effects of microwaves on metals. The trees are already all dead and dying. That is why up in the San Bernardino Mountains years back, we had to cut down old growth trees because they were being attacked by bark beetles. We had an arborist up there. We were in a drought. They said, you have to deep water. We did. We were then told if we used any more water out of Lake Arrowhead, they'll shut our water off. Our trees died. They have been cutting down millions of trees in the San Bernardino Mountains over a very long period of time because no one recognized that they were being flown over and destroyed by aluminum. Now, Rosalind Peterson, I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to interview Rosalind Peterson, but Rosalind Peterson went to the United Nations and asked them to please stop the geoengineering programs. Rosalind Peterson was a dear friend of ours, and she was a USDA lost crop claims inspector. She ran some websites, California Skywatch, Agriculture Defense Coalition. Everyone listening, you've been being warned by people that have already died. They've been murdered. Understand this. Listen to this, so you don't leave them out there alone, understanding what is happening. And as far as solutions go in fire season and in fire-prone areas, certainly if you are in an area of heavy trees that are already, they look like they're alive, but they're not. They're burning from the inside out. Again, we've captured many pictures. We've seen many cut down trees. They cut off the criminal crime scenes when they bring in the military or the guards. We were not able to go up into Fountain Grove and other burn zones here. They were literally holding us off. They brought in looters here to loot the homes and to steal things before they burned them all down. That is a standard operation process when you're going to attack somebody. You bring in looters.
Yeah.
This adds to their monetary purse.
Yeah, reports all over Pacific Palisades of immigrants. Many of these people can't speak English. They're coming into these areas that have been evacuated to steal from the homes before the homes burn down. By the way, just to let you know, Deb, what I'm showing on the screen here right now is fire tornadoes now breaking out in the rural areas, in the mountains, in the wildfires. Fire tornadoes, the types of which we've seen, the CGI fire tornadoes we've seen in those terrible Hollywood movies about storm chasers. Yeah. And they always make these storms seem so incredibly epic, as though that's what's coming in the future because of climate change. This is part of the brainwashing. And now we're seeing fire tornadoes literally in the hills above LA. I mean, it's predictive programming meets reality, isn't it?
Well, it is. And when we talk about solutions, we can only do so much against the electromagnetic frequencies that we're being targeted with. But I know a number of people who have put, they have additional water tanks on their properties with pumps, and they can pump water, and they can keep sprinklers going on their roofs. They use sponges to put in their gutters so that the water doesn't go down the downspouts, and troughs in the gutters. So if there are large, we had many large embers on our property when we were told to evacuate. We were we were hitting the embers with spot water because we were walking around and putting the embers out. Many people there, in fact, I wouldn't say many. I saw one situation where a man stayed behind, putting water on his home and his neighbors. He saved his home. The problem with that is when you are abutting burned out homes, you have lots of toxic particulates that get into all the insulation in the attics and in the walls. All that has to be torn out. Pads need to be torn out. People were moving into homes, abutting burned down properties, and getting sick in their homes. This is an added pollution that the insurance companies did not want to cover. And I don't know what happened to people that were getting sick that went back to the insurance companies, whether they got payouts to have all that. But we're talking about stripping homes down, taking off the drywall or the wood, whatever their paneling is, and taking out all the insulation in the walls, in the ceilings, and pulling up all padding. Just because your house is standing, don't think it's not a toxic kill house, because it is. So it's up to us individually to have enough topside water in order to try to mitigate some of the fires that are going to be set. This is a time of absolute destruction. Just understand that. This is an agenda. This is an agenda. And so, again, harden up your homes. We had one of those retired fire captains. One is now deceased, but another one who knows that these are fires, Matt Dakin, he will go around to communities, or at least he did, go around to communities showing people how to harden up against the fires and things that people can do. And we need to purchase our own fire gear, because you can't go out there in cotton clothes when embers are flying. We experienced that here, where we realized, oh my goodness, lots of embers. They're blowing them in the wind for miles in order to expand the fires. And they are burning up homes from the embers. That's another methodology that they're using in these fire events, fire-related events, is the embers that are blowing for miles now. And we're seeing, while people are commenting, I'm watching that the trees are left standing. I am seeing palm trees burning. I am seeing shrubbery burning. It can't not burn unless, of course, it's all calibrated. And it is calibrated. These are weapons. These are calibrated weapons to burn, burn with identifications. Everything has a frequency. And everything has its own footprint. Your palm of your hand is yours and yours alone. But they can uniquely calibrate to target houses. And that's what they do. That's what we've seen. That is the methodology. It is all Tesla. It is all being done. And you ask again for solutions. I think the first solution is to understand what we face. We need to understand the truth. We cannot base solutions on ignorance. We have to understand what we face. And we have to stop teaching our children lies. Because I will tell you that that's what we're doing with our kids. And they're the next generation under us if they survive. If they survive.
Yeah.
And with all that we face, we literally do have to band together and understand water is a renewable. Go to primarywater.org. Understand that if you are in a rural land, you must drill and get to primary water. I've had many interviews with Paul Power, known as the Hungarian water wizard. He was murdered a couple of years ago. He was drilling primary water wells, and he was originally stationed out of Ojai, California, right near Santa Monica in the Palisades, right in that area. And in his lifetime, from 16, when he learned about primary water, until his death at about 80 years old, sadly, he only drilled about 800 to 1,000 primary water wells, many of which were in Africa, many in California, and also many in Australia. But he was not able to tell anyone where they were. So he's now gone. I can only say that the lies are enormous. They're lying about our access to survival.
Yeah.
And that is what we face.
Yeah.
So the solutions are the truth, Sean.
Yeah.
Nothing but the truth.
100%. 100%. And keep in mind, as these places burn to the ground, over $150 billion in property damage, consider the fact that the Biden administration over the last 4 years, just in a single allotment, gave over $100 billion to Ukraine, then billions and billions more. Now, I'm not saying that all these homes and properties and structures should be rebuilt with taxpayer money, but as an American, I would prefer to see Pacific Palisades, Malibu, Santa Monica, Brentwood, everything that's been destroyed, have the feds bail it out for $150 billion and rebuild all of it. I would rather see that than another $100 billion for Ukraine. Folks, I just explained that to illustrate how much money has been given to Ukraine for nothing but endless war. Ladies and gentlemen, the Biden administration is now telling these people who have lost their homes, reach out to FEMA, maybe you'll get $770. Deb Tavares, it's beyond the pale. The people have been sold out, and our greatest hope will be a tipping point finally being reached in the great state of California, where all these sheeple people and NPCs wake up to the fact that they've been sold out by their politicians. These are not politicians. These are puppets.
Sean, I want to also say that what is happening with the weather weapons is they are destroying infrastructure in cities, and they're planning to abandon a number of cities. I found this on the FEMA website well over a year ago, and I pumped it out on many radio shows. But and I forget all the cities that are going to be abandoned, but this is going to sound insane, and I'll explain it. But St. Louis is a city that they plan to completely abandon. There's many cities. There was one in Tennessee, in New York, etc. And how they're going to abandon cities is they're going to take out and take down the reservoirs, which we're seeing happening now. 3 reservoirs were recently removed on the California-Oregon border, and that has caused over 80,000 water users to have to truck in water or use the well water if they had wells already drilled. The purpose of that, we're being told, is to replenish the endangered fish, the salmon, etc. And what they're doing is they're literally cutting cities off that are built around the the infrastructure of reservoirs and dams. They're also blowing dams and reservoirs up. We're seeing that in many of the hurricanes and tornadoes. They're taking out the infrastructure, and we're not going to be able to build that back. And so cities will have to relocate simply because they won't have the water they need to continue to survive. And again, I discuss this in great detail from the very documents that discuss this directly. So this is another method in forced relocation. And there are many methods of forced relocation. But I want everyone, please, Sean, everyone needs to look up the sun surveillance equipment, SUN surveillance. When you are told you cannot leave your area, they will know if you do, and they will be able to kill you from the equipment on the sun surveillance equipment that is being deployed everywhere. This is frequencies. It's all AI, and it's all a scripted reality. It's already advanced with what we saw. Look at the cartoons of The Simpsons and look at how it revealed ahead of time what they did to the towers, 9/11. All of it is scripted, all of it. And it's all political theater. As horrible as that sounds, they're perfecting the slavery, the system of slavery. And I can't underscore enough for everybody to please read the Illuminati Secret Covenant. You will understand how this has been drop by drop by drop, instituted over decades, as in like forever. Well, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about the fires, an area of which I've suffered severely. I have, again, 3 websites I'm running: stopthecrime.net, primarywater.org, and toxicsky.org. And I hope that everyone starts to understand this is war. If the consequences of what they're seeing live streamed looks like a war there in Los Angeles, it's because it is. And the fires are not out of control. They are being controlled.
Guys, let me say one last thing as we say goodbye to Deb Tavares. Malibu, Santa Monica, some of the wealthiest areas of California, Calabasas, Brentwood, all under attack on purpose by, I would say, Rothschild, United Nations, World Economic Forum, Club of Rome. These are the people, the Council of 12. They want you off the rural lands and herded into smart cities if you're to survive at all. Our guest has been Deb Tavares. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Friends, if you're still with us, I want to thank you so very much for tuning in. Spread this information far and wide within your sphere of influence on social media. We have to wake up our friends, neighbors, and colleagues, folks. It is our only chance. And for real news 24/7, check us out directly at sgtreport.com. Until next time, may God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.
I ask you, we've got to deal with this misinformation. There are hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation lies. People want to divide this country, and we're going to have to address that as well.
Look in the C40 Cities Guide and find out if your politician sold you out. Because if they said you're going to be a 15-minute city, watch out.